Hello everyone, and as we all know, the Seaman, or the Seaman as some people refer to him as, of course, Hydroid and Hydroid Prime, have been reworked in the Abyss of Dagath. Now, this Warframe used to be basically used for pilfering Swarm, and that was it. And then he became completely obsolete, and then they reworked him now, and he is actually really good inside of Steel Path and inside of Warframe as a game in general. Now, what has been reworked? First of all, starting with his passive. Enemies damaged by Hydroid are more vulnerable to corrosive status, with initial status reducing armor by 50%. So, the first tick of corrosive will do 50% armor strip on enemies. The normal one, or I guess normal corrosive without this passive, does 25%, so that's basically a double increase. Now, this is incredibly good because the enemy's damage part is not, I guess they're not a certain amount, not like 10 enemies, 5 enemies. You basically just damaging enemies is going to be incredibly good. So what do you need for that? You need high fire rate. Well, what has incredibly good fire rate, you might be asking? Well, beam weapons, of course, and we're going to be getting into that when the builds do come around. Now, with the abilities, first of all, Barrage wasn't really changed other than it has corrosive damage now. You can cast it multiple times and it's always going to cast it at like max power. Before, it didn't do that. You had to hold the ability, and then now you can just spam it pretty much everywhere. I actually use this to level up the Warframe, so really good. The second ability is going to be Gloom. Yes, we have lost our tidal wave. What they changed here, again, corrosive damage, and then instead of enemies being basically catapulted with your tidal wave, they're going to be caught in it, and then wherever your wave ends, the enemies will be sort of grouped up there. So sort of like a grouping ability, but as we all know, there's purposely better ones. But we're going to be using Gloom. We're going to be boring a little bit here. I've been testing out a couple of builds and also abilities on this Warframe. But first of all, tidal wave, do not use it. You don't need that ability. It's not that useful anyway. And he does have a little bit of an issue on surviving, but we'll get into that a little bit further on. His third ability, Undertow, goodbye. It's gone out of here. So Plunder is the new ability. Incredibly good. Plunder armor from nearby enemies and increase corrosive damage on your abilities and weapons. Enemies affected by corrosion status offer a greater increase. So basically, once you activate this ability, during the duration of this ability, you have increased damage on your weapons and also on your abilities, which is really good. You get an incredible amount of armor depending on how many enemies you grab inside of this ability, and of course you do gain, as I said, a lot of corrosion damage. So keep this in mind. This ability, in my opinion, is an incredible addition, and Undertow is just like completely useless. So this is going to be incredibly good because a lot of enemies are going to be affected by corrosive, so this is incredibly good. And the pilfering Swarm wasn't really changed, or I guess Swarm wasn't really changed, and it just basically stayed the same. It's just the AI is a little bit smarter, and it doesn't fling them around like crazy, it just dangles them, and basically that is it. And it also does corrosive damage. Now, of course, we still have the same old Pilfering Swarm augment, but we do have two new ones. Rousing Blunder. Well, the Blunder augment, this gains 50% max corrosive damage and armor, and heals allies within affinity range once you activate it for 50 health. So this is really good. This is going to be necessary pretty much because you get more armor, you get more corrosive damage, and it heals you as well. Incredibly good. Now, there's also another one that we might look into. It is Viral Tempest. This is also a new augment for Tempest Barrage, which is also going to apply a viral damage on top of your corrosive damage. Now, the reason that we're actually not going to be using this mod is basically going to be just because we're either going to use a Panzer Profiler, or weapons are either going to have viral, or the enemies are dying that fast that you don't even need it. So what am I talking about? The build on Hydroid is up on the screen right now. Pretty much, I've been trying to test everything out, but Gloom seems to be the best option. With this, I haven't had one single worry about dying ever. Now, Arcane Blessing is the only thing that I might change out for Molt Augmented, but that is something that I'm still testing out. For now, Arcane Blessing is much better. Adaptation instead of health conversion, I've tested that out. I honestly do not recommend health conversion, but maybe I'm doing something wrong. Prime Surefooted is incredibly necessary. Transient Fortitude instead of Blind Rage. You don't need a lot of power strength, and also Blind Rage is going to run you out of energy. If you have been noticing the first part of the gameplay a little bit earlier on, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes ago that cut out, I was running out of energy a lot. That was with Blind Rage. The next gameplay that you will be seeing, I guess for the past 2 minutes or 3, you're going to be seeing is going to be Transient Fortitude. A lot less energy problems, especially with Gloom always active. What you're trying to do, basically how the gameplay, at least in my sense, works out, is that you do most of your damage with your weapons, and Tempest Barrage applying corrosive, using your third ability to heal yourself, give yourself armor and corrosive damage as well. You're going to be using the Swarm, I guess his fourth ability, a little bit less. For crowd controlling good when you have a lot of energy to spare, then yes. But other than that, it is all dependent. Of course, this is sort of a guideline to building this Warframe. You don't have to exactly follow this, and you don't have to do the same things that I do. Now, the weapon that I used is the Torrid. The Torrid with a corrosive build. There you go, up on the screen right now. Now, the thing is, the Torrid as a base weapon is basically like a grenade launcher that launches grenades doing toxin damage. Pretty cool, but the Incarn form is a laser that has an increased fire rate and will basically shred everything. This weapon is incredible paired with our beloved Hydroid. With this weapon, with Hydroid, is basically having like the Electron Prime's armor strip on your Torrid, and your Torrid being, well, the Torrid. So you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Enemies are going to be dying left, right, and center. A couple things that I want to know, that I want to notify you guys about, is your passive does not work on Acolytes, so keep that in mind. All of your other abilities do seem to have an influence on Acolytes' armor, but your passive does not. I've been trying to melee them, trying to basically use my abilities, which of course does armor strip them because he does apply corrosive as well, so that works on Acolytes. And then I've been trying to like shoot it, but apparently it does not work. Is that a bug? Is it not? I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be in the game. But there you go, guys. If you guys test the, maybe something out, maybe a Hydroid build, maybe something like that, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll give it a look. Tell me also what you think of the build, what you think of the rework itself, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been your beloved Gaming Weasel, and I will see you guys in the next one. This has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out.